We do have, ma'am. Good
Hear
evening.
about public safety as well, not nearly of the impact as this. That's easy. Sorry. I'm here about buildings that are causing potential injury and safety concerns to the people of this city. And the fact that the city is aware of this because we put traffic cones in the street, we shortened the Christmas parade so we wouldn't have to go by there and be subject to maybe more than a brick or two falling down. And my question is, the cones have been up there for at least a couple of months. My question is, how long do we leave the cones? When do we step up and do what needs to be done for this city? And I'm not sure who's responsible, but I know once we, the city, have put up cones out there to protect people from it, and if you're driving down that street and that building falls on you, guess who's going to get sued? And it's not just whoever it is who owns the building, but do they not have any responsibility? And if they don't, why don't we take possession of it and somebody do something about something that is a clear and demonstrated danger, which we, the city, have acknowledged by putting the cones out there. It basically says, come on and sue me, and we're not concerned if it falls on you. That's what it says to me. Sorry.
Okay. Normally we don't have discussion when we have the unscheduled public comment, but so many people have raised this issue. I mean, obviously you're not the first one. So I would ask if the city manager or the city attorney might at least give some insight into why we are where we are and what might happen.
The planning department has completed the notification process to the greatest extent that is possible with the property owner, and following the guidelines under the process for it, we could bring it to city council probably at our next meeting for an order for demolition. And it depends on, and this is what I need to discuss with the attorney about with it, but we are moving forward with some things on it, but the property owner has not tried to remedy the issue themselves, and so we would have to get the legal paperwork together, but we are in that process.
I can just add, there is a process to this, and you can't just jump up and do it. But ultimately, yes, we can go and expend city funds to clean up the property, demolish it. That's been done during my tenure. I think most recently there at the property on maybe 12th in Roanoke, 13th in Roanoke, somewhere in that area over there by the Union Mission, where that property was significantly compromised. And the city went and basically cleaned that up. And so what happens with that from a practical standpoint, that's not something that we can do in every case, primarily because in those cases, the city expends its money and resources cleaning those things up, whether it's demolishing, carting those, the results of those of the demolishing away the debris. And sometimes, as anyone that's dealt with debris from buildings and things like that know, there are restrictions on how you can dispose of that, especially where there may have been contamination or things like that. But the city expends its resources doing that, its financial resources. And yes, the result of that is that the city ends up with a lien for the cost of the money that it expended to do those things, a lien on that property. But the question is whether many times the cost of going in and demolishing it and carting the stuff away is going to exceed the value of the property itself. So you end up with a lien that really is not, there's not, from a practical standpoint, as far as how you're going to satisfy that lien and recover the money, it's very difficult to do. I would say too, I don't see where the city would have liability for something like this. You're talking about a condition on a piece of private property. The fact that the city may have put out cones or something like that, I don't see where that exposes us to some kind of extra legal liability. I mean, the alternative would be is, well, we just don't put the cones out, and you know, it doesn't really change things. Private owners of property are the ones who have to maintain their property, and that's the case whether you're sitting on Roanoke Avenue or whether you're you know, in a subdivision somewhere or in a residential area. And so, you know, it is a process, but I do know that we are in that process, and I think that the one that Ms. Morgan brought up is a priority for the city.
You asked a question about owners having responsibility, and that seems to be an issue with some property owners not maintaining their property, and as Mr. Davis said, the cost can be extremely expensive due to hazardous materials and that type thing, so you end up with a $250,000 demolition bill for a piece of property that's worth much less than that. And then and I'm not being critical of you, but you're on this side asking us to spend everybody's tax money, your money, my money, and then maybe someone's over here, they don't want their tax money spent for someone else's property. So it's a dilemma that the council struggles with. Yes, ma'am.
Is there no way, if this is an absentee owner or if it's a local owner who has maybe other properties here, is there any way legally we can, they should have to pay for it clearly and take some responsibility? Can you not take action against any other property they may have?
You can, yes. That lien can go against any other property that is owned in the municipality, so in Roanoke Rapids. The problem at the end of the day comes is we can't. No court has the authority to order someone in a civil case like this to go out and basically into whatever you call it, indentured servitude or something to satisfy this civil judgment. And you know, from a practical standpoint, you know, when you're talking the costs involved, especially with some of these derelict properties, there's just such a gulf there that the idea that that one of these property owners may be able to bridge that gulf and you know, end up satisfying the city completely for the city's costs of cleaning it up, it's probably not going to happen. You know, sometimes there are a lot of things that the city has to expend money on. That, you know, I mean, you could look at, you know, whether it's maintaining the streets, whether it's, there's all kinds of things that we do as a municipality to maintain the city and to make sure that it looks good and that it's a good place to be. And so, you know, as far as, you know, those priorities and, you know, whether a property gets bad enough that we have to say, all right, we've got to do something about it even though we don't like it, that is a decision that has to be made. But I appreciate it. This is something that comes up, I think, not every month or maybe not even every year, but it's come up several times just during my tenure. And I think it's a good thing to have kind of talked about, because I know that a lot of times people don't pay attention to it. And, you know, you're driving down the road and you look over there and you say, well, why hasn't somebody done something about that? And so I think it's a good thing to have this dialogue be had, and so that the public can kind of understand the kind of different kind of push and pull with it and the different issues that come up. So it's like I say, you know, we've done it in the past when we have had properties, especially in frequently traveled areas, and that may be where this one, it looks like, may be headed. So.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that to us, and thank you all for your information. Item 6 is the January 2nd minutes. We only have one section this time, so we need a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the January 2nd, 2024 regular city council meeting minutes as drafted.
Okay, the motion on the floor, Councilwoman Bryant. Do I hear a second to her motion? Second by Mr. Stainback. Any more discussion on the minutes? If there is none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Minutes will be approved as they are presented. Under new business, I call on the finance director. We have several budget amendments.
Good evening. Yes, we have several budget amendments. The first one is for the library. They received state aid, and we originally estimated the budget to be $15,000, but we got a letter from the state, and they increased that by $1,374. And then also, the library received donations for the children's program in the amount of $612.50. So I would ask you to consider a motion to adopt ordinance number 2024-01 in the amount of $1,986.50 for the increase in state aid to public libraries and the children's programs donations.
Okay, you have the motion there before you, if someone would like to make that motion.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2024.01 in the amount of $1,986.50 for the increase in state aid to public libraries and children's programs donations.
Okay, motion by Councilman Bell. Is there a second to his motion?
Second.
I think it was Councilman Strickland. And any more discussion on the matter? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion will be approved. Move on to the fire department.
Okay, the fire department received a donation, three donations. A majority, 12,000 was received from Dominion Power, totaling $12,624. I would like for you to consider a motion to adopt ordinance number 2024-02 in the amount of $12,624 for donations.
Okay, there again, you have the motion that's being asked for.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2024-02 in the amount of $12,624 for donations to the fire department.
Okay, you have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Bryant. Do I hear a second to her motion?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Councilman Stainback. Any more discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, no. That motion would also be approved.
Okay, the next budget amendment was for the police department. They received $8,400 from Dominion Power. They also had a miscellaneous donation. So I would like you to consider a motion to adopt ordinance number 2024-03 in the amount of $8,524.80.
All right, entertain a motion for this request.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2024.03 in the amount of $8,524.80 for donations to the police department.
Okay, motion by Councilman Stainback,
Second.
second by Councilman Strickland. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion will be carried.
Okay, the next budget amendment is for the police department. They received asset forfeiture money in the amount of $5,202.49. They received unauthorized substance abuse tax in the amount of $2,874.65. And then there was an old block grant account at First Citizens that we closed, and the auditor suggested that we also put that into the asset forfeiture account because it was a federal block grant. So I would like you to consider a motion to adopt ordinance number 2024-04 in the amount of $9,909.76.
All right, entertain a motion for the request.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2024.04 in the amount of $9,909.76 for funds received for Federal Treasury asset forfeiture, OSC unauthorized substance tax, and a law enforcement block grant.
Second.
All right. Motion by Ms. Bryant. Did you second, Mr. Bell?
Yeah.
Okay, second by Councilman Bell. Is there any more discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion will be approved. All right, thank you, Ms. Johnson. Mr. Chalker?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I come to you tonight requesting you to consider a motion to adopt resolution number 2024.01 to officially declare the items attached as surplus and authorize the sale by electronic auction, which, as you know, we use govdeals.com. If you look at the attached items, there are 10 vehicles that are attached, and there's also a lot of various K9 kennel items. This is what we put in the police car to secure the K9 officers or the dogs in the back of the cars, and we just accumulated several shapes and sizes of these K9 kennels over time to where now they don't really fit anything that we have. Also noteworthy, the oldest vehicle on this list is 27 years old, and the newest vehicle, two of them are 10 years old. So from 10 to 27 years old in age, and the majority of these vehicles have been replaced by some of the leased fleet from Enterprise. So that's working out great. We're getting newer items in that are not costing us near as much money on a maintenance standpoint, and we're able to move some of these older and dilapidated things out. Moving forward, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions, Public Works Director? If not, I think we need a motion to move forward.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2024.01 to officially declare the items as surplus and authorize the sale by electronic auction.
Okay, motion by Mr. Steinbeck. Your second second by Ms. Bryant. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion will be approved. Thank you, Mr. Chalker. Ms. Trainum, your report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd just like to take a few moments to bring up a few things for your calendar as well, just to highlight. Next week on Wednesday, the HCIA will meet at 6 o'clock p.m. at Scottfield Preserve. I believe that the town of Enfield is the host town, but it will be held at Scottfield. And then following that, I believe some of you are registered for the elected officials training that is sponsored by the School of Government in Rocky Mount on Thursday and Friday. On Thursday next week, the department heads will meet to have somewhat of a mini retreat to discuss some of our goals and opportunities for the upcoming fiscal year and assess current conditions and look at some of our long-term goals to think more strategically as we move forward in our budget making. City Council will have our retreat on February the 7th, I believe is the date, Wednesday, February the 7th, and we'll have more details with an agenda coming soon, but some of the things that we want to talk about being the theater debt and then some of the other community needs as well. But I know there's probably a lot of things that you are going to pick up and learn at the retreat, or excuse me, at the training, and so hopefully there'll be some things to share as well. The City of Roanoke Rapids has primarily most of our property insurance covered by the North Carolina League of Municipalities, and they recently conducted a policy review with our Public Works Director and some of his staff members. And so part of that is this, we may have some additional requirements, and this is just nothing that's imposed on because of the league, but there's some things that we will be doing to ensure our liabilities and things to to help us better operate, I want to say. These are positive changes that, or not changes, but things that we'll be needing to do to ensure it for special events, especially in activities that are hosted throughout our community and our properties. Also, the kickoff for the Halifax Resolves 250th anniversary is going to be coming up very soon here too. And so we'll start seeing some more things about that, and that'll be another item for us to discuss at our retreat about some things that the city can do to help support that effort. Then a couple other smaller things, or not so small necessarily, but Stateside Landing Family Apartment Complex is moving forward in their planning and design with the planning department. They are intended to develop 3 buildings consisting of about 64 family units near the intersection of US 158 and Roanoke Avenue. So it's kind of diagonally from Bobby's Supermarket down there in South Rosemary. And so that will be a tax-funded project, a tax credit-funded project, and we anticipate them to be moving along with their plans and development as we come into the 2024. Subject to your questions, that concludes the majority of what I was going to ask, and then wanted to see if I could call in Chief Guyant to present some of his crime statistics, or some of the statistics about the community that he has shared recently, some of the accomplishments in 2023, and things that we should be proud of in our community here.
I had asked you about the McCroy's building. Can you give us anything about anything moving forward on that?
Yes, and I received an email from the property owner yesterday, and but speaking from the top of my head, he's waiting for a phase 2 approval with the state, and with the state historic tax credit program, and going through that, and we're supposed to have a meeting with the state historic preservation officer for our region in the upcoming weeks. So that project is still moving forward, but he's going through the bureaucracy with the tax credit program at the state level, I think, at this point.
How many apartment units did you say were being constructed?
At Stateside Landing, I
Yes.
believe it's 64 multifamily units, so 3 buildings. So there'll be more than 1 bedroom, and it is an income qualifying property, so it is restricted to, there's a salary cap. But we've seen where that usually serves a lot of school teachers, a lot of our employees as well, that could potentially qualify in those programs as well. It's supposed to be affordable housing.
That's great.
And it'll be publicized where you can look at the requirements to be able to purchase one and be able to accept it later on. And when do you foresee that being put online or something like that for the public, as far as the units?
Well, it's being built by a private developer, but right now they haven't submitted the building plans at this point. They're in progress on it, but
Okay.
usually when we have these type of apartment buildings being constructed, we get a lot of inquiries of families looking for somewhere to go, and so I don't have any of that information yet, so we're just getting started, but I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about it soon.
Anybody got anything else? If not, thank you for your report. Chief?
Again, thank you again. Very proud of my staff. 23 was a great year. I wasn't here the whole year with them, but I can tell you, from July to the end of December, they rocked. Let me go ahead and tell you. And the whole year was pretty fantastic. We answered 24,000 calls for service last year. We handled 1,020 automobile accidents. We wrote 400 ordinance violations, 1,500 plus citations, arrested almost 1,000 people, collected about 49 firearms off the street that were taken from convicted felons and those that didn't need to have weapons on our streets. And we took almost 800 different reports. On average, we saw between 22 and 23 a reduction of 11.33, 11.33% crime reduction in our city. We did this with 17% less staff than we had in 22. Okay, that's fascinating. Let me tell you this statistic. Our increase in closures, case closures, in other words, making closures by arrest and some other types of means. We had an 8.5% increase, which means we closed 8.5% more cases in 23 than we did 22. Our clearance rate is 81.7%. The national average is 50%. So, you say what you want to about the Roanoke Rapids Police Department. We're doing it. We're getting it done. I'm very proud of these men and women. I also want to notate that of the 24,038 calls for service, we only had reported 77 use of force incidences. That is a interaction with a person of 0.003% chance of us having an interaction that has a use of force. I mean, come on, you know. And this department is comprised of men and women that really and truly have dedicated themselves to making this shortage work. They've worked a lot of overtime. We have done a superb job in bringing in some good people, hired a new person today, and I'm proud to tell you tonight we have 2 vacancies. Okay? 2 vacancies. Our department is very diverse. We are getting to the point where we almost make up the exact amount of population by race that we have at our department. Our department is diverse, it's inclusive, and I could not be prouder of the men and women of this department. Next meeting, I'm going to recognize quite a few of them, some awards that they've gotten, some things that they've done, and I can just tell you that I'm proud of them. I hear all the time about people seeing the cars more along the city. Knock on wood, we didn't have the number of armed robberies that they had everywhere else during Christmas time. What else can you say? It's nothing but sheer professionalism, and these men and women, they are just outstanding human beings, and I am so proud of them, and I hope you're proud of them as well. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, general year to date receipts totaled $10,808,552.99. General fund expenditures was $9,119,902.40. Revenues exceeded expenditures by $1,688,650.59. So after the month of December, 47.3% of our budget has been completed. And the city is in good financial standing for December, and the month of December is a higher expenditure month normally due to Christmas and longevity bonuses, and we want to thank the council for continuing that. Do you have any questions?
Anybody have any questions, the finance director? All right, thank you, ma'am. Item 10, unless we have any other business, is a need for a motion under the statute 143-318 for a closed session.
May I make a motion that we go into closed session, discuss the personnel matters allowed by North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A6.
All right, we have a motion for closed session by Mr. Stainback. Do we hear a second to his motion?
Second.
Second by Councilman Bell. Any more discussion on the matter? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We'll take a real brief recess, and then we'll go back into closed session.